Hey, good morning. Taylor here. This is one of my paintings. I almost feel like I should show you how to paint this. And you're usually here for pouring. And you can actually use elements of pouring for this. If you go in there, whoops, all the color changes because the light changes. You could easily pour circles in the middle. And then you can easily do little ribbons and then drag a paintbrush through. So I might just show you how to do this at another time, although I think if you're here, this is probably pretty remedial for you. That said, I've been working on some other projects. It's so funny, you kind of start at pouring and then migrate to other stuff, like more abstract stuff, like pouring isn't ultimately abstract already, right? So here are some bases I painted for some projects I'm going to be working on. They're on glass, just so you know. See, thin glass. I gessoed these. That really adds a lot of texture, and sometimes the white comes through, and that can be good or bad depending on what you're going for. So I'm going to reveal what I've been working on. All of these are on glass. Oh, sorry, I'm bending down, so it's very awkward. All of these are on glass. That one hasn't been sealed yet. This one I used a Liquitex gloss medium and varnish on it. Wow, my focusing is having issues this morning. So that was that. This one looked awesome. And then I did a Krylon spray seal on it. And it ended up, see that kind of, I can't focus because there's no straight lines. See how that's blotchy? I didn't really want that. So that's the difference between those two, and I think I'll stick with this for next time, even though some of the brush strokes kind of show. Kind of don't mind it. This has been one of my more popular paintings. You can see all my paintings, and this one's not varnished, I think I already said that. You can see all my paintings as I go on my Instagram page, which is RHYS_studios, and that's where all this stuff is actually happening. If you're in for pouring, I won't be pouring today. I will be doing some abstract stuff because I really started falling in love with the method. I'll try to, well, I don't have an example of what I'm going to be doing, so hopefully I'll be able to set the video so you see that at the front. And this is my very first abstract. Obviously, it's very amateurish. Anyone who does art will probably say, oh my god, no, I have not studied art. No, I wish. It's all those kind of like the rich kids' luxury degree when I was growing up. Anyways, so that's what started it all, and it may not flow to you, but I was aiming for kind of an autumn sky feel. So that's my very first one. That was done with intention. Okay, hey, so like this is kind of my inspiration. I know we can't really get in there. I've got I got on the mail list for ArtNet afternoon, and so every day there's a different article. And so yeah, that's one of my inspirations. I'm going to try to do something similar. You can't really get the detail, and no, it won't be perfect because I don't have the art degree, but it's a place to start. Originally, I was going to do a winter scene, so all my colors are kind of mixed. But that's the type of thing, and I highly recommend going to ArtNet, or what is that? It's fineartmultiple.com. There's all these neat things, and if you can get over the whole, I don't know, you can get over the whole perception of elitism that goes along with the art scene, quote unquote. There's a lot there, and what's ironic about the art scene is so many of these collectors and galleries actually want to share this stuff with the world and share it with the average person. And that's why they're a private collection. There's this place in DC, of course I don't remember the name of it. It was a $200 million museum, in the Washington, D.C. area. Look it up. It's one of the largest private museums in America. They've got amazing variety and interesting things, and you can go, and it's not, I think it's actually free, but they only let 400 people in a day. So I recommend exploring art and finding what resonates with you. So back to business. Okay, so today I have a little bit of a space issue, but that's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and go with the winter scene I was planning on doing, or the impression of a winter scene / abstract winter scene. I'm going to be using some old paint. I also have one of my paint jars has 2 colors in it. One's metallic and one's probably metallic, I don't know, just to kind of give it some swirl. Now, I have discovered I love these brushes. These are awesome for massive coverage. These are awesome to flow. You know, you put a bunch of dots down and then you just drag them across, or you drag them across with this, and it just opens the colors up and doesn't super blend them, but sometimes blends them a little bit. Another really wonderful brush I love now. These are awesome. Oops, oh, I didn't condition that. And no, you don't need to until you know how. And these, the biggest challenge with these, besides this little stray hair coming out, is getting the right amount of ink or paint or whatever medium you're using, because if you don't, you drag it out and it you can't do a fine line. So it's really about viscosity and flow with your paint when you're using these particular. I can just show you. So I've put some water on here. It's probably mucky water. And so let's see, can you see that? See what a fine line that makes? I don't know if you can see that or not. It makes a very fine line, but it also does this wonderful thing. So that's why you see all these chalk artists and all these calligraphers using these. They're just such a versatile paintbrush. If you can afford nothing else, get a bunch of these or get one of these, and you can do a lot. You can even do some of the actions of this in a dragging sort of motion. Of course, you want it to have slide with paint. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I apologize, this might be longer. It might be too long. I can't figure out if my orientation is right on my camera again. So where am I going to start? So I have been using this product because slow-dri, it's slow-dri blending medium, because my paints will close up really quick and then you'll get blotchy or gappy things, and sometimes it looks cool and sometimes it doesn't. I also am using a little bit of pouring medium just to kind of keep the flow. I don't know if that's really helpful or not, but I don't use a lot. One nice thing about painting like this, you just don't use the amount of paint that you use when you're pouring. You don't, it's not as messy. So those are some pluses to doing a more traditional abstract type of painting. So I've got my colors here, or some more colors. See, I can't stay away from the colors. Stop, limit yourself. I can't do it, man. I just can't do it. So I'm going to stir those up and get them prepped. And you can watch for a sec if you want. That's already got the slow-dri and some pouring medium in it. That's white. And it's going to be a Galleria Winsor Newton. The good stuff. The one thing I have learned, honestly, I hate to say this, but if you can afford, and even if you can't, freaking save up, freaking use your coupons. Yeah, dudes, get the best stuff that you can. No, these are not the best, but they work. These are a good brand. These are a generic little brand, but they work fine. I'm not going to dismiss this, but at the same time, I've realized it's just like everything. If you get crummy tires, then you have a lot of road noise, and it doesn't work well. If you get crummy food, you get sick. If you get crummy anything, but so often we settle for junk. Don't settle for junk, man. It's not worth it. Don't settle. Don't settle. That's why this nation's where it is we slowly learn to settle, among so many other things. And I won't get political, so don't worry. So here I am. Whoops, I got boogers. Let me take care of those. So I am going to start with a little base of white. I find it helps blend and it lightens things up. So we're just gonna put that on there, and I should probably be a little bit thicker maybe. A little bit more water. Water you don't want to use a lot of because water breaks apart and it doesn't adhere. It completely blows everything out of the water when it comes to the paint's ability to stick and do what it needs to do. So don't, I think anybody that teaches painting is going to tell you don't thin your paints with more than 1:1, and that I think is pushing it, especially when you're dealing with cheap craft paints, because they're already diluted and not with a pouring medium. Pouring mediums and other mediums actually enable your pigments to stretch. Sometimes it also increases translucency, as does the slow-dri. But it keeps the polymers together because it's a clear polymer base. It's like a neutral base. So you want to use pouring mediums, and you want to use gloss mediums and other mediums on your paints rather than water. Water's cheap and you'll get ugly, ugly results. Okay, so there's kind of my little base coat. I'll probably have to go clear my water. And I just, I spent a lot of time wiping off on my rag. Not the best, probably. Ooh, look, I got something on my thing. But no one will die. So I do a lot of this because I just want to keep going. I want to keep painting, and I have to run back and forth. Okay, now, where shall we go with this puppy? And I shall go with this brush next, I think. Because we're going to be getting some flow of winter colors. Whoops, I got more of this. It's slightly different, though. I think I'll go for the darker one. So I'm going to go ahead, get my paintbrush all wet, nice and wet. I dab it off on my rag after I wet it, just so it doesn't dilute the paint too much. Now, winter skies. Now, this might get really light, which is fine. I'll just add dark blue or something. Winter skies have purple in them, right? See how nicely that flows? And you can just smooth it out, and you can bring it back. Whoops. So I'm just adding colors that I want to see in my sky. I'll be blending them further. Yeah, the shaking part's kind of a problem. I think it's because I have a thumb and wrist injury, actually. But maybe, I don't know. Doesn't matter. Keep painting, man. So you're just going to drag your paint. And it doesn't matter that you've got this excess. Yes, I'm going to mix some white into my purple when I do that. Don't care. It's fine. So I've got that. What else do we see in winter sky? We do see hints of this pretty blue. Yes, I'm mixing my colors. It's all going to look different when it's done. But you want to have a substantial amount of paint for this. Yes, it may muddy up. Don't get too hung up on it. I always see the winter skies and the fall skies as kind of flowing and kind of dynamic. No phthalo blue, though, and no happy little trees for this painting. Not happy about that, but I'll just blend it in later. And often I'll just scrape it off. Can you even see? Yeah, you can see me do it. Scrape it off and put it back on and use it as a bead of color. And come back through here. I didn't plan this out. I should have. I've planned out my other paintings. I think we're good there. Leave that little purple edge. Come over to the water. Come over to the rag. And today's playlist is 105.3 San Francisco. It used to be live 105. I think it still is. I don't know. Yeah, it must be. I went to their winter concert and it was awesome. Girlfriend took me and it was very cool. And she moved, so now I won't get to go to cool concerts with her anymore. Now, so we've got it dark. So do I want to go ahead and incorporate more white? Oh, yeah. I would maybe go for a darker blue. Did I pull a darker blue? Ah, darn, that would have been super organization. That's too shiny, that's too green. A little bit of black. Well, maybe a little hint of black because it's such a dark sky in the winter. Although, whoops, don't want to get this on my... It's a dark, dark sky, depending on where you are in the relation to the equator. If you're up in freaking Sweden, it's freaking dark, dark in the winter. I mean, it's so funny. I knew some Swedes. I worked with some Swedes, and they're like, the sky is so light in the winter. I thought, what the heck are they talking about? It's like, oh, wait, no, that does make sense. And it was. They're like, there's actually light in the sky in the winter. And I thought, didn't really notice that because it seems so dark to us. It's like, oh, no, this is like midday. No, it's not that bad. Oh, man, Swedes. They're great people. If you ever get to work with Swedes, young Swedes, they can be a lot of fun. What happens on the weekends, it stays on the weekends. I think that's more than enough. Now, this looks kind of funky right now. I do know that. And it's just a start. And I have to figure out how I'm going to incorporate the bottom. But right now, what I think I'll do, I think I'll put my finger in the thing. I am going to just drag. And I'm going to go with the flow that I want. So yeah, it can get muddy real quick if you're not careful. And it's a learning experience. We're not here to be, oh, so perfect professionals, obviously. So I am far from that. But I am here to learn, and I'm here to share my learning experiences with you. And if you learn something fabulous. If you don't, I'm sorry. You're probably, you're probably one of those, you know, art majors. I'm just teasing. If you can do an art major, have fun with it. If you've got that. And you know, I can always add more paint or take paint away. Well, you can add more paint. You can't really take it away. I don't like that. Yeah. I can always add more paint. So that kind of just gives a flow. And I like the flow. I can come back in here with a smaller brush. It looks like the black has too many additives. Hopefully it doesn't have silicone, because it is from one of my pouring stashes. Okay. Oh, and that's one thing. I sprayed this with a primer, and unfortunately it does chip easily, as you can see. So, semi-reliability on that. Let's come back in here with what? A little more purple, yeah? Well, let's see. So it's good for that. I really hope you can't hear my music, because I know we all get in trouble for that sort of thing. If I can keep it quiet enough, maybe no one will pick up the pattern. And it's some silly little 90s riff. So and every time you sweep it, it'll change a little bit. And see, that's what happens when you have too much, or it starts closing, you come back over. The water, it'll actually peel it right off, which is like, no, don't. Stop, don't. So it's really just an exercise in playing with it and seeing where it goes, and if you like where it's going, and if you don't, that's fine too. You can always add more paint. And I should have put the cloth down, although my husband's like, well, that's what the tables are for, just don't worry about it. Keep putting my finger in stuff. Maybe I actually need to migrate to an easel. That seems so professional to me, though. And you learn different pressures, different motions to get a different result. So yeah, so there is your basic intro to this technique, if you can call it a technique. So I lost some of the black there. The white shows through, and I think it gives it a luminosity and a movement. And then you decide how much more movement you want. So I'm basically done with the sky. Now I have to figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of it, right? And see how it starts skipping? So that's when the paint is closing up. And the slow dry is supposed to help keep it open a little longer. So you get really nice results. I mean, if you'd like to do this type of abstract, it's a really fun, semi-easy. It's easy. You just have to keep practicing on how heavy you're going to draw and how much of the white you want to see through. If you draw heavy, you're going to break through the paint and get the white. So just be aware of that. How long has this gone on? I can't actually see today. Oh, my timer isn't showing. Oh, it'll probably show 20 minutes. Okay, I think that's enough torturing you for 20 minutes. I will continue working on this and come back and show you that shortly. Okay, so here it is more or less complete. I ended up adding a bunch more colors. I added brown, obviously. I didn't add any orange, although I could have in this palette easily, because guess what? It's okay for mud to be muddy, and that's kind of the winter mud. You can see where I had some challenges here because it started closing up. So I can come back later with this type of paintbrush and kind of, after it's all dry, reblend in that area with those colors, because I still have those colors available to me. I tried to make a transition, kind of a horizon here. I don't like how that is. I'm going to have to smooth that out if I can, if it's not too late. And if it is too late, I'll come back in with that color palette and see if I can smooth that into that. But I was trying to make a horizon transition to the grassy hills. Now here in California, winter means green. I know that winter is brown and white with snow everywhere else, but here in the San Francisco Bay Area in particular, and north middle of California, it turns green everywhere. But underneath is the mud and all this stuff. So this is kind of a winter transitional or fall transitional evening sky, even though it's not a sunset. But that's my impression, that's my abstract, and I hope you had fun watching it. And if you need to fast forward, that's all I can ever expect from you, is to fast forward. Will I get back to pouring? Probably, but right now I'm going to really play with this. There's a event coming up, and my friends are like, they like these, they don't like my pouring, which is fine. So I'm going to do as many of these as I can and try to refine and improve as I can. And hopefully by the time the show comes around, I will have some decent stuff to take, and I'll probably put it up on my Instagram, which is RHYS_studios. That's my Instagram. If you want to follow me, great. If you don't, that's fine too. If you want to send me paint, let me know. I'd love it, but I understand. I wish you all the best in your paintings. Have yourself a wonderful day. Go try something new. Go do something adventurous. And fear not. Oh, by the way, these glass panels and frames are brought to you by any dollar type of store. It's great, because the only bad thing is that their frame choices are limited. So hopefully you'll try to get your color palette and the frame to match, or spray paint the frames black. Have a good one. See ya. Thanks for dropping by.